ساعدوني في الترحيب بالسيدة شروق زيدان الرئيس التنفيذي والمدير العام لتأهيل OEP اللي هتدير الإطلاق الرسمي لتقرير البنك الأوروبي لإعادة الإعمار والتنمية، وكمان هتدير الجلسة الثالثة والأخيرة بعنوان فرص تنقل العمالة والهجرة القانونية لخريجي التعليم الفني والتدريب المهني في أوروبا وأفريقيا والخليج ودول أخرى.
مساء الخير عليكم جميعا. اوعدكم ان الجلسه دي هتبقى يعني very targeted، محدده جدا. انا احب ادعو على المسرح مع دكتور محمد مجاهد نائب وزير التربيه والتعليم الفني، الدكتور صابر سليمان مستشار وزيره الهجره، والسيدة بليانا من بنك EBRD لإطلاق دراسة احتياجات سوق العمل في الدول الأوروبية والخليج اللي تمت تحت رعاية وزارة التربية والتعليم الفني ووزارة الهجرة بتمويل من الاتحاد الأوروبي لإعادة.
أولاً والله يعينك 100 مرة.
Hello everyone again. My name is Biljana Radonjic Ker-Lindsay, Associate Director in charge of access to skills and employment at the EBRD. I was with you this morning, and it's a real pleasure to continue this important event. So just very briefly, I think we are running late, so it would be important to continue to stick to the schedule as much as possible. I just wanted to say what a privilege it is for us at the EBRD to be supporting this important research. For us, Egypt is one of most important countries of operations. This is our largest country of operation in southern and eastern Mediterranean, with investment of more than 10 billion euros, 160 investment projects. And from my perspective, in charge of gender and economic inclusion, this is the country with the largest portfolio of inclusive and gender responsive projects. We are very happy to have established relationships with a lot of important Egyptian counterparts, starting from business associations, Federation of Egyptians Industries, Egyptian Tourism Federation, and others. But of course, government of Egypt, primarily a Minister of International Cooperation, which is our governor, but also Ministry of Education and Technical Education. As you heard this morning, we are very proud to have helped establish the first pilot sector skills council in electrical engineering. But I was very excited about this particular panel because this study is very close to my heart. The journey started sometime late 2020, early 2021, when COVID-19 was in its full swing. And I was really impressed at how the government of Egypt, the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Immigration was very calm, strategic, and able to see beyond the panic everyone was at the time, and trying to think, okay, what does this mean for the labor market? What does this mean for our young people, for the skills? How is this COVID going to affect our training provision, the skills that will be needed? How is this going to affect labor market, both in Egypt and also for our for the people who are going abroad? So this was a very good cooperation of like-minded people, and we've worked together, developed very extensive terms of reference to look at both the absorption capacity in the local labor market in Egypt post-COVID, but also thinking about how to reprioritize human resource development and TVET strategy, and look into both traditional country of destination for Egyptians labor markets, labor migrants in the Gulf, but also in the EU and other potential countries of destination. And we were lucky that in the implementation of this work, we were able to rely on huge already internal capacity within Ministry of Education and Ministry of Immigration, which is not something that we can always rely on in our other countries of operations. So we had a steering committee which oversaw this work, which was co-chaired by Dr. Mohamed, my pronunciation, and Dr. Soliman, who were very much engaged and actually steered the work of the experts. We were also very lucky and fortunate to have two sets of very experienced experts in skills, both international team with the GFA, but also extremely capable team of national experts of CID consulting, who made sure that this job is done to the best international standards. And we have very effective and very realistic recommendations, which you will hear about later just now. I am again very happy to be able to introduce this innovative study that very much complements the strategic directions of this demand-driven TVET reform effort of the government, and will impact on the way TVET strategy 2.0 is articulated, but also from the EBRD side, this is going to very much influence the way we work and design our future interventions. And I know that a number of international partners are already looking into those recommendations and thinking about their own work, such as our colleagues from European delegation. How can they make use of this? Without further ado, I just want to say that I will pass on the floor to the fellow participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In fact, the study that was made for us by the EBRD aimed at first to identify the specializations of technical education in particular required in some European countries and Gulf countries. And I must say that at first, I was not, let me say, be very frank, I was not expecting that report. The report, we have it now, and it is in fact beyond our expectations, to the extent that we may actually ask EBRD for further studies. They started with defining 16 countries that they are called countries of destination. 16 country دول, studied them in details, determined the required technicians, the type of required technicians. The second stage, they lowered them to 10 countries only, and finally to 6 countries. And then the results they obtained are comprehensive, and they will be, I think, explained later today after lunch. In fact, they will affect surely our strategy. I already indicated some of the things that communicating in English language and in European language will become some of the competencies that we will add to technical education students. Maybe I'm not serious, I'm not joking about asking for further studies. Maybe you have seen the thoughts of Dr. Dieter Doman, that we have to think of the competencies required in 20 years or 30 years, because we are doing the strategy of technical education reform should be sustainable and not work for the competencies required today, or at least in 5 years from now. But we should think also of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So maybe that's a future thing that we should think about. I would like to thank EBRD for the great job that they have done, and particularly the team of GFA. They were actually professional, very professional. They went around in all countries of destinations and gathered the right information, both from Gulf countries and other countries in Europe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mia and Dr. Saber.
Thank you. And first, I would like to thank Dr. Megahed and the EBRD for this marvelous job. As I want to explain first, it's not a study, it's a project. Started from the national vision to link the development with the migration, and how best to achieve that, responding to the international requirements in the labor markets and the local requirements of the Egyptian labor markets, together with the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Immigration, and the Egyptian Expatriates Affairs, agreed and used the general support from the EBRD to develop this project and to get together in a full SWOT analysis for the target countries, representing the most promising labor market in the Europe area and the Gulf area and the other countries that could be promising, and choose together according to certain criteria how best to select the countries and how best to apply our investigation and the SWOT analysis in depth. Just to identify the effort done by the EBRD and GFA, CID, and the local team from both ministries to set the 6 countries. It wasn't easy, and to analyze the requirements, the most promising job sectors, the required qualifications, the wages and salary scale, the integration criteria or procedures in such countries, the competitiveness for the foreign laborers with the markets in each country, and the inclusion, the requirements from the labor market, not only the qualification, also the procedures, what is required to secure the labor migration in each country, and how best to apply this in reference to the local circumstances in Egypt. So it wasn't easy to start. And then when we started to identify the countries, we went through all the criteria and how best to link between any requirement and the possibility to apply it in Egypt in cooperation with the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, the public and the private stakeholders, just to have the outcomes or the triggered results from this study to be applied. So for our side, for this study contains 2 parts. A part required to satisfy the labor market needs in Egypt and how to include that in the education, formal education programs and non-formal training for the technical and vocational sectors, and also how to support the labor mobility scheme that the Ministry of Immigration are working to develop in cooperation with the stakeholders and all the related ministries. So this study is a milestone, a very strong milestone that actually is helping us, not will help, it's already helping us to integrate the efforts and to use all the outcomes and the recommendations to set it in a national strategy for labor mobility. So I want to thank you again, and to ensure we will continue together as we depend on the development part of the EBRD scope of work to be with us along the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. شكرا لحضراتكم جدا، واسمحوا لي ان احنا نقول ان هذه الدراسة خلاص تم انطلاقها، وصدقوني الدراسة دي يعني هي فعلا مشروع زي ما دكتور صابر قال، لان هي لسه مستمرة. لسه مستمرين، والموضوع ده ابتدى من 2020. فبجد تستاهل كل جهد وتعب كلنا، كل زمايلنا اللي اشتغلوا فيه. فأنا حابة أعزم على الستيج زميلي أستاذ أندريا سالفيني، إحدى الخبراء اللي قاموا بهذه الدراسة الجزء الأول والثاني. و10 دقايق هيدينا يعني a quick brief على هذه الدراسة، وبعد كده هنبتدي البانل. والبانل ده أحسن بانل في اليوم كله عشان تبقوا عارفين.
So good afternoon. I try to give some snapshot of this study that was carried out in the past 2 years. The study that the EBRD conducted was certainly not possible without the interaction of the international experts with a steering committee that steered our directions toward the priority of the country and of the technical vocation system. Especially, thank you very much, Dr. Megahed. And this was not possible also without the technical insight of Dr. Soliman and Dr. Ashmawi. So, what did we do? We have started from the local labor market in countries of destination, trying to understand with a demand side approach, what was the comparative advantage of potential migrants from Egypt? So we used this framework of comparative capacity to deliver on the vacancies that are going to be published by sectors abroad. So in a very pragmatic way, instead of looking at big statistics, we started to identify batches of at least 400 vacancies in shortage. And as you well know about the countries of destination, in order to mitigate political resistance, we have also tried to concentrate on vacancies which were unfilled, which were unmet by the national labor force and by EU member nationals in European Union countries of destination. So for each country, we sketched a map with established clusters, the project underway, and initial activities broken down at the sectoral level, identifying also to refer to the findings of the second panel, not to the specific occupational requirements that we see now, but to the occupational families that the sectors are going to request now and in the decade ahead. So an exercise of skills anticipation based on countries of destination which are more sophisticated and more diversified as the time passes by. Now, let me tell you for each country what we try to come across with the steering committee, country by country. So, first of all, a specific indication for entities in countries of destination to establish a dialogue, both for visas and on skills recognition. For visas, we are talking about Ministry of Interior with under the auspices of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For the skills recognition, instead we have the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Labor, and also very important, the dialogue with sectoral entities. So a linkage with the sectoral councils in countries of destination. So I think that also looking at what was said during the first panel on sectoral council in Egypt, this methodology to distill needs of the members of sectoral council can also be used for the domestic Egyptian market. Now, already Dr. Megahed spelled out that we described in detail, granularly, the migration system of 16 high potential countries. But not only that, we also tried to see what are the pathways that are able to absorb Egyptian students in the so-called fashion of education to employment visa. Not only that, we have started to do, especially for Germany and for the Czech Republic and for Canada, which were the countries, let's say, with the highest payoff, we started to try to map the standard operating procedures that lead an applicant to a skilled vacancies to start the job at the enterprise in the country of destination. Now, very important, we did not look at. This is an evidence-based exercise that somehow was built on the lenses, on the institutional and political lenses of what matters for Egypt, what matters for the government, what matters for the out migrants, and also, of course, what matters for the enterprises in the country of destination. So we looked at the opportunity cost in structural, temporary, and seasonal labor shortages. Try to provide a wide array of offers of jobs that can be filled in by different types of Egyptians, because we have exits from the Tibet system, we have candidates for professionals, especially in the formal education, but we have also several low-skilled Egyptians that may benefit for income opportunities abroad. Now, what we focused on, we try to build on what is already existing. So the steering committee provided us with existing partnerships and with the labor migration dynamics. We have to praise the work of the Egyptian experts, because we have worked on the information that they have detected on the ground on what is going on the edge of migration which lay in Egypt. We try to sketch recruitment pathways and linkages to sector in shortage, trying to look at what is the opportunity cost and also the workplace language, which is more and more the most important barrier to get a job in Europe. In this European Union, which is experiencing a labor shortage of 8 million vacancies, many of them are met, and of course the language barrier is coming across as a very important one. Now, we try to, yes, the final countries were only 6, but the findings can be cross-fertilized to different clusters of countries. The first one is the continental European one. We studied Germany, but also the findings can be cross-fertilized to Austria, Czechia, and to Switzerland when it comes to skills recognition system. Especially for Germany, we understood the Germany admission and recognition pathway from the point of view of the federal German institution for the provincial recognition system, and also for the local one specifically critical for handcraft workers. But of course, I can only fly over with the time that I was given. Now, the Gulf countries were of particular importance because, of course, the incidence of irregular migration in the Gulf countries is very low, and of course, it represents an extremely important opportunity when it comes to skilled labor for the comparative advantage of the Arab language proficiency of Egyptian candidates. Now, the third cluster of countries, Belgium, France, and Italy, is a very interesting one, because given that the procedures are a little bit looser and very much skilled migrants are absorbed regularization and by bilateral agreement, we see that we tried to make the best out of it, to use territorial approach and try to see grassroots the labor needs of numerical control machine operator, metal carpentry and welders from 400 enterprises in the high-tech automotive sector in one specific region. Now, Portugal and Romania, usually not very fashionable as countries of destination, were studied with the specific aim of breaking pathways for low-skilled workers. So we know that these are countries where the nationals migrated towards the west and towards the north, and they left many jobs available, especially Portugal, very interesting for the very easy access to residency and also to nationality. Finally, United Kingdom and Canada, these were the ones that gave us the hardest job, because they have very high-skilled recognition pathways at the provincial level with the recognition colleges. So these are also the countries which for which Egypt suffered the highest competition, and we have been snipering some good candidate for occupation of the TVET system that can be brokered into, especially into Canada, but the result can be cross-fertilized also for the United Kingdom, because the standard operating procedure are the same. Now, let's move at the recommendation very quickly. Engage with Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and specific skilled authorities and sectoral entities and industrial partners. Very important to channel study experiences of success, sectors, regions where Egyptians have a particularly good reputation, and try to upscale these experiences. Now, we also have something very, very new. I mean, I've been working in this industry for 2 decades. We have these new findings, not of a general language course, but of 72-hour packages of sectoral specific language courses for welders, for metal carpenters, to operate a software of industrial machine, something that can save a lot of time and can have a lot of efficiency gain. An Egyptian welder does not need to recite a Goethe poem in German. It needs first to operate a machine with a software in the German language. Now, finally, raise awareness of the importance of technical language, not only for those who are still in Egypt, but also for all the Egyptians that are already in the country of destination. So the role of the MoETE and the TVET system to operate remotely as a vector of opportunity, because especially in Canada and in the European Union, most of the skilled jobs are taken by those who are already there. Now, finally, and I hope that I met my time schedule. Also, with the view, the last thing we worked together with Mr. Soliman was to try to make a SWOT analysis. Which kind of occupation and which kind of migrants shall we place? Shall we negotiate in which country? So, some conclusions, which I hope that will give you the appetite to contact us bilaterally, so as to go deeper. Upscaling and institutionalizing existing corridors is much more successful than brokering new ones. So, and this calls for a remote support to diaspora communities in countries of destination. Then, good, the intuition of the TVET reform in Egypt, that we reap the benefit of a TVET system that does not only speak Arabic, but speaks English. So like Morocco has French as a comparative advantage for Quebec, we have to show off a TVET system which talks with two languages. And this was an initial intuition of Dr. Megahed that we carried across throughout all the 16 case studies. Finally, what we heard from industrial partners in the countries of destination is that enterprises are looking for finite candidates. Finite candidates are not in the office of a ministry where the memorandum of understanding is stipulated, but they are at the local level in Egypt. So I believe that it is important to understand also how to bridge the agreement, the bilateral labor agreement at the local level in Egypt, where candidates are ultimately. Finally, and this is something that we wanted to do, but we did not have time to do. It's very important to learn from successes and failures from other countries of origin. So Morocco, Tunisia, Jordan, Sri Lanka, Philippines, and why not, given that we have not 8 vacancies, we have 8 million vacancies only in the European Union, why not to join forces and specialize on our Egyptian comparative advantage? I want to stop here to leave the floor for requests, and I can deep dive on other specific aspects. Thank you for your attention.